The deep black of space stretched endlessly, dotted with glowing stars. A single human ship, the Horizon, moved carefully toward the world of the Veyari Empire. The mission was simple on paper: meet the Veyari Queen, speak of peace, and prove that humans were not enemies. But for Captain Elias Ward, nothing felt simple. He had seen enough battles to know that trust between species was not easily built. The Horizon landed on a silver platform that shone under the light of 2 moons. Waiting for them were rows of armored guards, their tall frames wrapped in dark plates of metal that seemed grown, not forged. At the center stood Queen Zelara, her presence strong and cold. She was taller than any human there, her crown of bone-like ridges casting shadows on her sharp face. Beside her stood her daughter, Princess Ariax. Unlike her mother, the young princess had softer eyes, though they still held the proud fire of her people. She watched the humans with quiet interest. Elias and his team walked forward, careful and respectful. He bowed slightly, though not too low. He knew the Veyari valued pride above all things. Queen Zelara, Elias said calmly, I come as a voice for my people. We seek peace, not war. The queen's voice was like steel. Peace is a word the weak use when they cannot win. Tell me, human, why should the Veyari, strongest of the stars, even listen to you? Tension thickened in the air. Elias held his ground. He did not speak of weapons or armies. Instead, he spoke of trade, of knowledge, of the chance for 2 species to grow together instead of bleed each other dry. The queen's expression did not change, though her eyes narrowed. She gave no answer. Instead, she turned and commanded her guards to escort the humans to the royal hall for a banquet. The hall was carved from crystal stone, glowing faintly as though the walls themselves held trapped starlight. Long tables stretched across the chamber, filled with alien foods, glimmering fruits, roasted beasts, and drinks that shimmered like liquid silver. As they ate, the humans remained careful, taking only what was offered. Elias sat near the front, opposite the queen and her daughter. The conversations were stiff, formal, filled with tests of words. Then something unexpected happened. When a servant placed a strange dish before Elias, Princess Ariax leaned forward and smiled softly. Her eyes, bright and curious, rested on him. And then before the hall, before her mother, she spoke words that froze the air. Father, she said warmly, you always told me to be brave when facing the unknown. Will you taste it first as you once did for me? The hall went silent. Every eye turned to the human captain. Elias's breath caught in his throat. He saw shock on the faces of his crew, disbelief in the queen's eyes, and anger growing like fire in the guards. Queen Zelara stood suddenly, her voice ringing through the chamber. Why does my daughter call you father? Her tone was not only furious but shaken, as if the foundation of her world had cracked. Elias remained still, his mind racing. He could not deny what the princess had said, for the truth was there in her voice. She had spoken not in jest, not as a slip of the tongue, but from her heart. Princess Ariax rose from her seat, her gaze steady. She turned to her mother, her voice strong though filled with emotion. Because he is my father, not of blood but of spirit. He saved me when no one else did. He protected me when death was certain. Without him, I would not stand here today. The queen's eyes widened, fury and confusion mixing together. The court erupted with whispers, shouts, and disbelief. Some demanded the human's head for daring to claim such a bond. Others stared in silence, unable to understand what had just been revealed. Elias slowly stood. His calm voice cut through the noise. I never sought to be her father. Years ago I found her alone, wounded, and lost. I did not know who she was. I only knew she was someone who needed help. I gave her food, I gave her shelter, and I gave her hope. That is all. The queen's hand tightened on the arm of her throne. You dare say my daughter owes her life to a human? Impossible. But Ariak stepped closer to Elias, standing tall and fearless beside him. "It is not impossible, Mother. It is truth. He showed me mercy when I was taught mercy was weakness. He showed me strength not through killing, but through protecting. If not for him, I would be bones on some forgotten world. He is more than a human. He is my father." The queen's pride trembled in that moment. Around her, generals glared at Elias as if he had poisoned the royal bloodline. The court was divided, whispers spreading like fire. Elias did not move. He looked only at the queen. His voice remained steady, respectful, but unyielding. "I did what any father would do. I protected a child without asking who she was or what she would become. If that act insults your throne, then I stand guilty." Silence returned. The queen stared at him, her chest rising and falling. Her people waited for her judgment. Finally she spoke, her words like a blade drawn from its sheath. "Then you will answer for this, human. Tomorrow, before the Empire, you will tell us all why my daughter calls you father. If your words are lies, your blood will stain this hall." The queen swept from the chamber, her cloak of shadows trailing. Behind her, Ariax remained by Elias's side, her hand lightly touching his arm, her voice quiet yet strong. "Do not fear. You stood for me once before. Together, we will stand again." And in that moment, Elias knew that the path ahead would be more dangerous than any battlefield he had. The night sky over the Veari capital glowed with streaks of purple auroras. From the balcony of his guest chamber, Captain Elias Ward looked out at the alien city. Towers of crystal rose like spears, and ships drifted quietly in the air. But Elias felt no peace. Tomorrow he would stand before the entire Veari court to answer the queen's demand. Why does her daughter call him father? He had faced battles, sieges, and death itself. But this was different. His words, not his weapons, would decide his fate. Behind him, the door slid open softly. Princess Ariax entered, her long cloak flowing like dark water. She moved with confidence, but her eyes carried worry. "You should rest, father," she said, the words slipping from her lips with ease. Elias turned, shaking his head gently. "You know that word is dangerous here. Every time you say it, you put me closer to death." But Ariax did not back down. She lifted her chin proudly. "I will not hide the truth. You are my father, not of blood, but of heart." Elias sighed. He saw the same fire in her eyes that he had seen years ago, when he had first found her on a barren world. He remembered it clearly as if it had been yesterday. Years earlier, on the edge of a forgotten war front, Elias had been a young commander sent to evacuate survivors after a brutal clash. His ship had landed on a world scorched by fire, its fields burned to ash, its rivers dry. Among the ruins he had discovered a child, not human but Veari. Her body was wounded, her armor shattered, yet her eyes still burned with defiance. She had raised a broken blade against him, ready to die fighting. But Elias had not raised his gun. He had lowered it, taken a step closer, and said softly, "You don't have to fight. You're safe now." The girl had collapsed in his arms, too weak to resist. For weeks he had kept her hidden while his crew searched for others. He had fed her, bandaged her wounds, and taught her to speak some human words. She had been suspicious, proud, even cruel. At times, but slowly, she began to trust him. At night, when fear returned, she would ask him questions. "Why do you not kill me? Why give food to your enemy? Why help me when I would never help you?" And Elias always gave the same answer. "Because that's what fathers do. They protect, they guide, they don't abandon children to die." Now in the present, Ariax's voice cut through his memory. "You never asked who I was," she said quietly. "You treated me not as a princess, not as a soldier, but as a child. No one in my own empire ever did that. Not even my mother." Elias studied her face. She had grown since then, no longer the fragile child he once carried. She stood tall, with the strength of her people and the compassion he had taught her. "Ariax," he said carefully, "your mother sees this bond as betrayal. Tomorrow when I speak you must be ready. If I say the wrong words, I will be executed." Ariak stepped closer, her eyes burning with determination. "Then I will speak the truth before all of them. Let them hear what you did. Let them know why I call you father." The next day, the great court of the Veyari Empire filled with thousands. Warriors stood in black armor, scholars in silver robes, and nobles draped in bright banners. The hall shimmered with crystal light, as if the stars themselves had been captured in stone. At the center, Queen Zalara sat upon her throne. Her gaze was sharp, her pride unbroken. When Elias was brought before her, she raised her hand, silencing the whispers. "Human," she said coldly. "My daughter has spoken a word that shames my bloodline. Explain yourself. What bond ties you to her?" Before Elias could answer, Princess Ariak stepped forward. Her voice rang across the chamber. "I will explain, Mother. Years ago, I was left for dead on a broken world. My soldiers had fallen and I was alone. No Veyari came to my aid, no general, no warrior, not even you, my mother. But a human came. He saved me." The court gasped. Whispers turned into waves of shock. The queen's face hardened. Ariak's did not stop. "He healed my wounds. He gave me food when I starved. He stayed awake when I feared the dark. He never once asked who I was. He never asked for reward. He simply said a father protects his child." She turned to Elias, her eyes, "And so I called him father." The morning sun rose over the Veyari capital like a blade of gold cutting through shadow. Captain Elias Ward stood in the courtyard of the royal palace, observing the massive arena that had been prepared for him. The Arena of Ancients was a place of legend among the Veyari. It was where warriors proved their worth, not with words, but with skill, strength, and courage. Elias had no illusions. Every move here could mean life or death. Princess Ariax approached him, her face set with determination. "You do not need to fight like a Veyari," she said softly. "Use your mind, use your heart. That is your strength." Elias nodded. "I hope it will be enough. But I will stand for you, no matter what." Around them, alien generals and nobles whispered, their eyes sharp with suspicion. Some smiled cruelly, certain that the human would fail. Others, less certain, watched quietly, waiting to see if humanity had a shred of true strength. The gates of the arena opened with a roar. Opponents clad in black and red armor stepped inside. Veyari warriors, tall and terrifying, trained from birth in combat. They raised their weapons, sharp and glowing, ready to strike. The crowd's cheers and jeers blended into a thunderous wave. Elias stepped forward. He did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He simply stood tall, scanning the arena, looking for weaknesses and opportunities. In that moment, he understood that this fight would not be won by brute force, but by strategy, courage, and compassion, the very traits that had defined humanity for centuries. The first warrior lunged at him. With a double-edged spear, Elias sidestepped, dodging swiftly, and instead of striking back, he used the warrior's momentum to guide him into a trap that neutralized him without injury. The crowd murmured. The second opponent was faster, smaller, and more vicious. Elias used his agility to avoid blows, keeping calm under pressure. When the warrior tripped on a loose stone, Elias did not strike. He extended a hand, helping the alien back to his feet. Shock spread through the arena. No human had ever treated a Veyari warrior with such mercy, the generals whispered furiously. Some were outraged, claiming that compassion was weakness. Others watched with disbelief. The crowd, however, could not look away. The arena had never seen a human fight this way, calm, clever, and entirely without cruelty. Princess Ariax cheered, quietly from the stands. "Father, you are showing them. Showing everyone." Elias focused. Each opponent that approached was strong and well-trained, but he used their own aggression against them. He ducked, dodged, and redirected, striking only when necessary to immobilize. No blood was spilled, no life taken. By midday, the human had faced 12 warriors. 12 times he had proven that strength was not measured by the weapon one held, but by the mind and heart that guided it. And 12 times the spectators grew more astonished. The queen watched from her throne, her eyes narrowing. Pride warred with doubt in her heart. She had always believed that a warrior's strength defined worth, yet here was a human, fragile in form, yet capable of commanding the respect of her people through intelligence, courage, and mercy. Finally, the arena master announced the last challenge. A warrior of legendary reputation, twice as tall as Elias, stepped forward. His armor gleamed like black ice and his eyes were cold fire. The crowd erupted, anticipating a swift end to the human's trial. Elias took a deep breath. He did not raise a weapon. He did not rush forward. Instead, he observed. The warrior attacked first, striking with unmatched speed. Elias ducked and rolled, letting the blows pass harmlessly, using movement instead of strength. Then, in a single moment, Elias exploited an opening. Instead of harming the warrior, he unbalanced him and guided him to the ground. The warrior froze, stunned by the lack of injury. For the first time in his life, he had faced an opponent who fought with wisdom rather than rage. The crowd went silent. A human had bested the Veyari champion without drawing blood. Whispers of awe spread like wildfire. The generals looked uneasy. The queen herself felt a chill of realization. This human was unlike any she had faced. Ariak stepped forward, clapping softly. See, mother? This is the strength of humanity. It is not in killing or in fear. It is in protecting, guiding, and standing strong when others would falter. The queen's hands clenched on the arms of her throne. She wanted to rage, to strike Elias down, to protect the honor of her empire. But she could not ignore what she had seen. Every warrior who had fought him came away alive, yet humbled. Every spectator had felt a new respect, not for the human, alone, but for the idea that strength could take a form they had never imagined. Elias stepped forward to the center of the arena. I do not seek to overthrow your empire, he said, his voice carrying clearly across the hall. I seek only to show that strength can be measured not by fear or death, but by courage, mercy, and heart. That is why your daughter calls me Father, because she knows what it means to be protected, guided, and valued. The arena erupted, not with anger, but with a mixture of awe and quiet applause. Even the generals could not hide their astonishment. Queen Zelara's chest rose and fell rapidly. She stared at Elias, her pride wounded but her mind turning. Perhaps, she thought, there was more to strength than she had ever understood. The trial was over. Elias had not only survived, he had changed the way the Veyari viewed him, and perhaps the way they viewed humanity itself. Princess Ariax ran to him, smiling. You did it, Father. You have shown them. You have shown them all. Elias smiled back, tired but resolute. We have shown them. Together we stand stronger than fear or hatred. That is what matters. And as the sun set over the crystal towers of the Veyari capital, Elias knew that the hardest part was still ahead, the queen's judgment, and the battle to convince her that a human could be more than an outsider. The crystal towers of the Veyari capital shimmered under the twin moons, casting long shadows across the palace halls. Queen Zelara sat alone in her chamber, the echoes of the arena still fresh in her mind. The human, Elias Ward, had not only survived the arena of ancients but had done so without striking a single fatal blow. Her generals whispered behind, closed doors, some praising his cunning, others condemning his audacity. And yet, it was not their words that gnawed at her pride. It was the undeniable truth she had witnessed herself. He had defeated her champions not with strength, but with strategy and mercy. He had protected her daughter, inspired awe in her people, and forced her to face a question she had long buried. What does true strength mean? The queen's fingers drummed against the arm of her throne. She had ruled the Veyari Empire for decades, guiding her people with the iron code of warriors. To show compassion was to invite weakness. To spare an enemy was to risk honor. And yet, Elias had done both. Her mind flickered back to the moment in the arena when the human had guided her greatest champion to the ground without harm. The wide crowd had gone silent, not in fear but in astonishment, and her daughter, her own blood, had cheered openly. Salara's breath caught. She had always been proud of Ariax, but never had she seen her daughter display such courage and conviction. The little flicker of doubt that she had hidden for years now surged forward. Perhaps the child had learned more than she had ever intended. Her generals entered, their armor clinking softly. "Your Majesty," General Teller said sharply, "we cannot allow this human to continue influencing the princess. He undermines centuries of Veyari tradition. If you do not act, our empire's honor will crumble." The queen's eyes met theirs, cold and unyielding. "And if I act too quickly, I risk losing her loyalty as well. Do you not see what he has shown them? Our people respect him. They admire him. And they listen to my daughter as never before." The IF general shifted uncomfortably. General Korik spoke next, his voice rough with impatience. "Your Majesty, respect does not last. Power does. We must strike before the human's influence spreads further." The arena was a warning, not a lesson in mercy. Salara rose, her shadow stretching across the chamber. And yet it was the human's actions that drew admiration, not fear. "Perhaps I have been wrong all these years." The generals exchanged uneasy glances. Whispers of rebellion, subtle doubts, and fears of insubordination danced behind their eyes. For the first time they sensed uncertainty in the queen, a dangerous gap in their usually unshakable leader. Salara walked to the balcony, staring down at the city below. Thousands of Veyari eyes had watched the arena, and now thousands more would question what they believed. Perhaps strength is not only measured by might and steel, she thought. Perhaps there is more to leading than fear and conquest. Her reflection was interrupted by a soft voice behind her. "Mother?" Princess Ariax stepped into the chamber, her cloak flowing like dark water. "I wanted to speak with you. I know the human is unusual, but you saw what he did. You saw how he fought, how he protected me. Why can't you see him as more than an outsider?" The queen turned slowly. Her eyes softened, though her pride remained. "He is unlike any human I have met, and yet the idea that he could be your father, your guide, is difficult to accept." Ariax took a step closer, her gaze unwavering. "Mother, you have taught me honor and courage. He has taught me mercy and wisdom. I am not torn, I have both, and I cannot abandon him because he saved my life and my heart. Please, try to understand." Salara inhaled deeply. She could feel her power trembling. For decades, she had ruled with certainty. Now a human had forced question. The palace was tense. Rumors of rebellion spread like wildfire through the Veyari capital. Some generals, outraged by the human's victory in the arena of ancients, had begun plotting a coup. They believed Queen Zalara's hesitation to punish. Elias Ward showed weakness. They saw an opportunity to seize power and return the empire to its old ways: iron, fear, and conquest. Inside the royal chamber, Elias stood quietly. Princess Ariax was by his side, her hand gripping his lightly. "They are preparing to act tonight," she said softly. "They fear you. They fear what you represent." Elias nodded. "Then we cannot wait. If they move first, many lives will be lost, including yours, Ariax." The queen entered the room, her expression unreadable. "Elias Ward," she said, her voice calm but firm. "The Empire watches you. Prove to me that your strength is not only for yourself but for those who cannot fight. Protect my daughter, protect my people, and show me the truth of your heart." Elias inclined his head. "I will do all I can, Your Majesty. Not for glory, not for power, only for life and honor." As night fell, the conspirators made their move. Armed with blades and energy weapons, they stormed through the palace corridors, moving swiftly toward the royal chamber. Their plan was simple: Eliminate the human and any who supported him, then force the queen to accept their rule. But Elias was ready. Using his knowledge of human strategy and a careful understanding of Veyari architecture, he anticipated their approach. He guided Ariax and a small group of loyal guards through hidden passages, avoiding traps and ambushes. Every step was calculated. Every move had a purpose. When the rebels burst into the main hall, they were met not with fear but with precise defense. Elias and the loyalists used momentum and clever positioning to neutralize the attackers without killing them. Bodies were pinned, weapons disarmed, but no lives were taken. The generals, seeing their plan fail, grew frantic. Some tried to strike at Elias directly, believing that ending him would restore their control. But he remained calm, using strategy over strength, ensuring each rebel was contained and disarmed. The queen watched from her throne, her eyes wide with astonishment. Never had a human, alone, or with a small group, managed to defend against so many Veyari warriors and still spare lives. She began to understand this was not weakness. This was a different kind of strength. After the battle, Elias approached the queen. "Your Majesty," he said, "my actions are not meant to undermine your rule. They are meant to protect life, your daughter, and your empire. Strength is not only in victory, but in the courage to spare, to guide, and to endure." Ariax stepped forward as well. "Mother, see him not as a threat. He has saved us all, including you. He is not here to destroy, but to protect." The queen's hands trembled, slightly. Pride and doubt battled within her. She realized the truth she had been resisting. Elias had proven himself not only worthy of Ariax's loyalty, but also worthy of respect from the empire itself. The rebels, now restrained and disarmed, looked at Elias with confusion. Some had expected cruelty, retribution, or fear. Instead, they found fairness and mercy. Their minds wavered, their certainty shaken. Many began to reconsider what they had thought they knew about strength, honor, and leadership. Selara finally spoke, her voice ringing clear through the hall. "Elias Ward, human of Earth, you have shown courage, intelligence, and heart. You have saved my daughter. You have saved my empire. You have proven that humanity holds a strength beyond what we have known." Elias bowed respectfully. "I do not seek praise, Your Majesty. Only understanding. Only the chance to show that our worlds can coexist, learning from each other rather than destroying one another." The queen's gaze softened, and she looked at her daughter. "Ariax, it seems your choice was not folly. You have taught me as well that strength comes in many forms, some I had not considered, and you were right to call him father." Ariax's face lit up with relief and pride. "Thank you, Mother. He is not just my protector. He is my father because he chose to stand for me and for what is right." The court was silent, then erupted into applause. The generals, humbled by Elias's actions, knelt in acknowledgement. Some still struggled with their pride, but they could not deny the human's courage, his intelligence, and the mercy he had shown. Selara stepped down from her throne and approached Elias. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Perhaps humanity is more than I imagined. Perhaps you are not only the father to my daughter, but a bridge between our worlds. Today you have proven that the heart and mind are as powerful as any weapon." Elias looked at her, then at Ariax. "I will continue to protect and guide, Your Majesty, not as a ruler, but as one who stands for life and honor. That is all I can promise." The queen nodded. "Then so be it. Let it be known throughout the empire, this human has earned the respect of the Veyari, and let it be known that he is father to Ariax, as she calls him. We will no longer measure all strength by steel alone." A new dawn broke over the Veyari capital. The towers of crystal glimmered with hope, not only for peace between worlds, but for the possibility of a future where humans and Veyari could learn from each other, where compassion and courage stood as pillars alongside honor and might. Elias, standing beside Ariax and the queen, felt the weight of the moment. He had faced war, he had faced death, and now he had faced the challenge of earning trust in a world not his own. And he had succeeded, not by weapons, not by force, but by showing what it truly meant to be human. Princess Ariax smiled at him. "Father, you have done more than I could have ever imagined. You have given us a chance to build something new. Together." Elias returned the smile. "And together we will. For both our worlds." The queen watched them. Her heart softened, her mind opened. She realized that this human, this father, protector, and teacher, had already reshaped the future of the Veyari Empire. And in that moment, the empire stood on the brink of a new age, an age where two worlds could unite, led not by fear, but by courage, mercy, and the extraordinary strength of the human heart. The morning sun bathed the Veyari capital in soft, golden light, glinting off the crystal towers and illuminating the vast streets below. A new day had begun, but for Captain Elias Ward, it was not a day of rest. The challenges he faced had not ended with the failed coup. Now, the real work began, bridging the divide between humans and Veyari, and proving that trust and unity could survive even the oldest prejudices. Princess Ariax walked beside him, her hand brushing lightly against his. "Father," she said softly, "the people are watching. Some still fear you, some still doubt you. But many, many now respect what you've done." Elias nodded, looking at the bustling city below. "Respect is earned slowly, trust even more slowly. But today we've begun. Today we've shown them that strength is not only in arms but in heart." The queen appeared at the balcony above, her presence commanding yet calm. "Elias Ward," she called, her voice carrying across the courtyard. "Come before the people. Show them that humanity is not merely a foreign species but a partner in the survival and growth of this empire." Elias stepped forward. His heart was steady, his mind focused. As he moved through the palace gates, the crowd parted, whispers and stares following him. Some eyes were suspicious, others curious, and a few sparkled with hope. The Veyari had not seen a human like him before, someone who fought with intelligence and mercy, who valued life over dominance. Princess Ariax raised her voice to the assembly. "People of the Veyari Empire, hear me. This human has saved me and he has saved our empire. He is not our enemy. He is not an intruder. He is my father, not by blood, but by heart. And he stands with us, to guide, to protect, and to teach." The crowd murmured, some with awe, some with disbelief. Elias raised a hand, calling for silence. "I do not seek power over you," he said calmly. "I do not wish to rule your people or change your ways by force. I am here as an ally, a friend, and a protector. The lessons I bring are not for conquest, but for survival, understanding, and honor." He paused, letting his words sink in. The generals who had plotted rebellion now stood quietly, their faces unreadable. Even the most skeptical citizens were forced to confront the truth they had witnessed in the arena and the palace. Humanity's strength lay not in weapons, but in courage, wisdom, and compassion. Queen Zelara stepped down to join them. Her robes shimmered in the morning light, but her eyes were soft, almost humbled. "Elias Ward," she said, her voice steady, "you have shown what few in my empire could imagine. You have proven that life can be protected without cruelty, that courage is not measured by fear, and that strength can come in many forms. For this, you have earned not only my respect, but the respect of the empire." The crowd erupted in cheers. Humans and Veyari alike watched as their differences faded in the face of shared admiration. Many who had doubted Elias's intentions now felt a spark of hope for a united future. Ariax stood beside him, her eyes shining. "Mother, he has earned more than just respect. He has earned our trust, and he has earned my heart as a father should. He has shown that even across worlds, family can be chosen, nurtured, and honored." The queen placed her hand gently on Ariax's shoulder. "It seems, daughter, that your choice was right. I see now that a father is not only one who shares blood, but one who stands unwavering when others falter, who protects the young and teaches the value of mercy and courage." Elias felt a